Firstly, sir, I would like to welcome you and thank you sincerely for gracing this occasion here to speak to this enthusiastic audience.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I think I'd like to begin by touching upon the theme of this conference, which is 0 to 1, going from idea to innovation and starting something new. And in fact, since you are an actor, there's a lot of overlap between acting and entrepreneurship, where both of them involve risk, passion, determination, and are also not really on the top priority list of Indian families. So you have a lot of resistance from many parents who prefer safe professions like engineering and so on. And some of the people here too might not really be here by choice. And you two actually were in an engineering college, and then eventually you made that leap. You went from 0 to 1 to becoming an actor, and then made it big in that field. So can you run us through the challenges you faced in this context?
Hi. Hello. Hi. Well, let me just begin by saying that it's always a different kind of pleasure for me whenever I come to an engineering college, because I am myself a dropout of an engineering college, and it's not something to be clapped about. But my educational journey, and by the time I reached the film industry, that journey is quite interesting. And if I refer to your theme, which is 0 to 1, I would say my journey was -1. It started from -1, and it is now where it is. I don't know if it is 1, but it is definitely started with -1. As it was mentioned, I was born in a typical middle-class family. Though I was born in Belgaum in Karnataka, I was brought up in Solapur. However, I was sent back to Belgaum for my 11th and 12th, PUC 1 and PUC 2, because in those days we had, will I be disturbing the camera? Just operate. Where is the camera? Just please operate, because I would like to stand in between. Thank you so much. Thanks. So, we had, the Karnataka government had, which was called border seat. I was not very good at studies, but as Nissim said, I was expected to be an engineer or a doctor, because all other professions were absolutely non-existent then. I mean, from the point of view of the society and the parents. So I was sent to Belgaum for 11th and 12th so that I can get that sympathy seats in Maharashtra. They used to have that time, 5 seats in engineering and 5 seats medicine. So the PUC 2, the 12th syllabus that was there in Karnataka, I loved it, so I did it twice. That was the only reason. Because then somehow I got admission in COEP, College of Engineering, Pune. Don't miss the word somehow. But that was because I didn't have good percentile, but I got the admission because of that border seat thing. And then I liked our first year engineering portion more than my 12th exam, so I did it twice. We used to call it FE, FE dash and FE double dash. I don't know what you call now, but we used to call it that. So I was in FE, then FE dash, FE double dash. And then I somehow got courage to tell my parents that I'm not interested in science, I do not like engineering, and please let me come back to Solapur and get admitted in arts. I love languages, so they didn't have choice, because they could see the future of this only son of theirs. And so I came back to Solapur. I took admission in arts. And for the first time, as far as education is concerned, I was doing something which I liked, which I loved. And I, in the very first year, took part in my college gathering, and I performed on stage for the first time then, and I, of course, liked it. Then I joined an amateur group in Solapur, and I mean, that is why I said that I started from -1, because, mind you, this is very important as far as my profession is concerned, why I became an actor is concerned. Because you must understand, when I went back to Solapur, you can imagine a boy of that age who is a complete failure. According to my family and the society around, I did not have any future. I was a nobody. I mean, my real sister is 4 years younger to me, and because I had ducked 3-4 times, she was afraid that I might be in her class now in the college. My mother had stopped going to weddings and other functions in the family because she didn't want to face the relatives. What would she tell people what her son is doing? I'm telling you in detail all these things because you must understand the kind of state that I was in. And in that state, I entered stage. I performed in front of 1,000 students in our college, and I was a star overnight. For the first time, I got my identity, as they say. So, I liked acting, I liked to be on stage. According to me, that is secondary. The first thing was the glamour quotient of it, the identity that I got. And I think that that is one of the main reasons why I stuck to acting. And then I went to National School of Drama, New Delhi, and did my course, 3-year course in acting. And then I went to Bombay and actually became a professional actor. However, I think that that particular period was extremely important for me, which brought me from -1 to 0 at least. And that journey, because we always talk about something which is above the ground, but I think that's not where we begin. We begin from much below, at least I did. And that's why this particular journey, that particular period, is extremely important to me, because that has taught me a lot. That failure has taught me a lot.
All right, sir. Thank you for that illuminating answer. But now coming to your versatile and critically acclaimed roles, we've often wondered, since you've played really challenging parts, almost to perfection, in multiple languages, not just Marathi or Hindi or English. You've gone way beyond that. So how do you prepare for roles in languages that you may not be familiar with? And how do you adjust to these roles and still manage to blow them away?
I work in about 7 languages, 4 South Indian languages, Hindi, English, Marathi. As I told you, I am from Belgaum, so I have a flavor for Kannada. I can understand Kannada, I can speak it okay types. So I have flavor for South Indian languages. However, what I do practically is I write my dialogues in Devanagari and I by heart them, and I perform. So that's what I do. Just one thing, because you mentioned entrepreneurship in acting, and I'm so glad that that word is brought in the discussion in the context of acting, because I'm just going back and forth, but since your theme is this, so I would really love to touch upon that. I always say that there are 3 things as far as acting is concerned, professional. One is I like acting, you know. So you may find many people who would say that I like singing, I like acting, any other thing. So liking acting is one thing. To be able to act is second thing. And to be able to do the business of acting is the third thing. And these 3 things are completely different from each other. They are not interdependent. In the sense that I might like acting, but I may not be able to act. But I may be able to do the business of acting. That is possible. It's absolutely possible. I may be a good actor, but I may be extremely bad at the business of acting. And what does business of acting involve? There are a lot of things, because I always say that when you are in this profession, more than your talent, your temperament is essential. Because ours is probably the most volatile profession on this planet. You can absolutely not be sure about anything in this profession. And wherever you may be rather I would say that if you are as big a star as you are, the more insecure your position would be. An actor can never say that he's settled in his profession. I don't think so. Because every Friday is a different Friday, and for us, the last Friday is more important. And so it's an extremely, as I said, volatile profession. It's very difficult profession. And that's why this temperament is extremely important. We don't have much time, otherwise I would have explained it more.
So since you've mentioned these three aspects, I'm curious, did all of them come naturally to you, or did any one or two of them have to be cultivated? And do you think, in fact, any of these three aspects of being a successful actor or likewise entrepreneur can be cultivated?
This question is always asked if the artists are born, if a person is born actor. I don't think so. I have a feeling that you are born with a temperament. However, when you come on this planet, you have to cultivate, you have to work towards it. And if you don't have the temperament, of course, and that's why we have good actors, average actors, bad actors. So it entirely does not depend on your hard work. Definitely not. But having said that, I would say that a certain training, it may be a formal training or an informal training, but a certain kind of training is absolutely essential if you want to be an artist. That much I can definitely say. And yes, as far as the business aspect of it is concerned, it definitely has to be cultivated. And you have to be extremely observant about it, about the entire thing. Your understanding of it has to be better. And I always say that in any profession, what is more important to remember is that your life is more important than your profession. That is extremely essential to remember. Because of late, we have forgotten this. Of late, we all think that we are successful man or a successful woman only if we are successful professionals, which is wrong, which is completely wrong. And to understand this, that life is more important than my profession is, I think the definition of life has to be extremely clear in our heads as to what exactly we want from this life. Money, profession is, according to me, only the means. मराठीमध्ये त्याला फार चांगला शब्द आहे की पैसा हे साधन आहे, साध्य नाही. So it's not the aim. Money or your professional achievement cannot be the aim of your life. That can just be the means to have a good life, to be able to do what you want to do. I think if that is clear, then you can cultivate all these things accordingly.
So since you've spoken about life beyond the screen, in fact, you maintain an exceptionally simple lifestyle, right? I mean, I believe you don't even have a TV at home. So, so what is the philosophy behind, this simplicity, and how do you balance this large-scale public life with a very simplistic private life?
Simplicity is overrated. I don't think I would call this a simple life or such. But as I just said, that one has to define what one wants from life. Not only television, I have very few, I don't have a AC at home, we don't have television, we don't have washing machine, we don't have double beds, we sleep on floor on mattress. We don't have all these things. We only have internet, that's necessary, and of course our phones. But we don't have these all other electrical equipments or double beds or sofas. We don't have sofas at our home. But I would say that this is how me, and fortunately my wife, she agreed to it, fortunately. So we want to live like this. I will not, kind of exaggerate it or glorify it, so to say. But this is how we want to live. I remember when we wanted to buy a house in Bombay, that time we thought that we could afford a 3-bedroom hall kitchen in Bombay. But we went ahead and bought 2-bedroom hall kitchen because I told my wife that I don't want to work for the banks. I want to work for myself. And so let us buy something which is essential, because it's very difficult to define what is an essential thing and what is a luxury. And I think that is what I mean when I say definition. And I think we lived happily. I could do what I wanted to do, even films. I could choose my films because I didn't have to pay the banks my EMI. And I think that thought is extremely essential when one steps out in the world.
And since you are, a very public figure, and any public figure in the 21st century these days is compelled to move beyond just their profession. So in your case, you've taken up some amazing social and environmental initiatives, primarily your educational initiative, Quest. So can you tell us a little bit about this and also what the motivation was behind this? Because I believe on your website it says it was born out of personal experiences that you faced with the education system.
Also that, which I just did share with you. But whatever happened to me as far as education is concerned, and even otherwise, when I looked at the society, I realized that especially in a country like India, if you start looking at the problems on the macro level, any problem for that matter, and if you start digging in, and if you try to find out the root cause of any problem, you would understand, you would come to know that the root cause of any problem is wrong education system. And it is education system that I am talking about. And why the system is so? That is because I think our approach towards education in last, say, 5, 6, 7 generations has been wrong. It's wrong. Just let's understand how the approach is. And I'm talking about generations together. So if I am a parent and if I have a child, I want my child to be happy, right? It's a very basic minimum thing. I want my child to be happy. Now, what do I think? How a child can be happy? What is the basic definition of being happy? Is that if my child has her or his own home, a car, then a better home, a better car, all these amenities and all that. How my child can get this if that child has a good job? How can that child have a good job if the child has a good degree? How can it have a good degree if at the time, on the day of the exam, the child remembers what is to be written in the paper? That is why when parents say study, they basically mean by heart. Because you can remember. See, these are very dangerous words. These are, I would say, enemies of knowledge, of education. You have to remember, you have to by heart. It doesn't matter in our education system if you don't understand the basic principle of it. If you remember and if you are able to kind of vomit that in your exam papers, you get your degrees, you get your jobs, and you get your basic amenities to live. But what does this do? This particular approach towards education has given importance to wrong things. This basically, see, competition, such a bad word, such a bad concept. One can compete only with oneself. There is no need to compete with someone else and prove that one is better than the other. But what our education system has done, and see why I'm again and again saying education system, because this system has created extremely selfish citizens. And that is why it is. What is our education system? We take out numbers, no? 1, 2, 3. Who is the first? Who is second? Who is third? And all that. So our education system tries to, tell who is the best amongst all. However, the basic purpose of education system has to be what is best in each student. That is what the purpose of education is. But we in the sense, generations, again, we are the children of the children of the children of the children of the people who started with this kind of thought slowly. So it is deep-rooted. You must understand this. And because of all these things, see, I really don't like these words, passion. I don't like that word. I don't like competition. I don't like that word. We have glorified these words very wrongly. And what does I'll give you an example. You all must be knowing, I think last year or year before that, IIT Mumbai, they had campus interviews and there was a record-breaking interview, some 2.5 crores per annum kind of a...
In fact, a similar case here as well.
Here as well. There was a news after 2 months in the newspaper that the classmates of that particular person who got 2.5 crores, they were getting thrashed at their homes by their parents, saying, your batchmate got 2.5 crores, you are getting 1.5 crore, you rascal. Which means that even if you enter an IIT, even if you score good marks, your so-called competition is not going to end. What kind of pressure is this? And what has happened? What has happened is that we are interested in one-upmanship right from our first standard or KG and junior KG because of this competition thing. We are expected to be better than someone else. It absolutely doesn't matter what I am. And whatever you do to be the so-called best is valid in this society. So as a society, we have started giving importance, or we call that person a successful person who is basically a successful professional, which means that he earns more money. So a successful engineer, so-called, who earns money, if that person has not read a single book in his life, he has not seen a single play, he doesn't, he's not interested in arts, he's not interested in sports. If that professional is doing some wrong things to be successful, even then we call and respect that person only because he is a well-earning professional. That is what we do. And that is why we are creating very selfish citizens which think that if I am better off, nothing else matters. And then how do I tell the world? Because I have to tell the world now that I am successful. How do I tell it? I tell it with symbols. What are those symbols? The car that I own, the address that I live in. Up to a point, it absolutely matters to the parents that to which school their child goes, because that is a symbol for the world to show. I don't think we are heading towards a healthy world. If we continue doing this, I don't think we are heading towards a better world. I think we are getting more and more selfish. You might feel that you are forced to do that, but I'll come back to my original point. You can decide the definitions of your life. And if someone else is going to decide how you are going to live, because you are always going to look at your classmate or your cousin or someone who is staying nearby, what that person has, I should have. If someone else is going to dictate where your happiness lies, then that person will never ever be happy. That much I can tell you.
Thank you, sir. One final question, I think, before we wrap up. There are various initiatives in BITS itself run by students like Nirman and Abhigyan, where they reach out to underprivileged kids in the neighboring society.
Just to answer the last sentence. So this is what I thought about education, and that is why I thought that I must work in the field of education. And so 10 years back, we founded this NGO called Quest. We work in a tribal village called Sonale near Bombay. But that is just the base. We work in around 4 states of Maharashtra. And we work, right now, we are working with around 20,000 students and about 2,000 teachers. So there are a lot of details about that. But you can find more about Quest on quest.org.in. Thank you.
So since there are similarly determined students in our campus and presumably in other top engineering campuses as well, how do you think we can collaborate with an organization like Quest? Or what do you think is the best way for us to make a difference on the educational spectrum?
The basic problem in education, I'm talking about primary and pre-primary education. Please take that into consideration. What we basically lack in India is research. Because in our primary and pre-primary education especially, we have borrowed things from the West, and there has been no research. Because in the West, every university has a department of primary education, primary, pre-primary education. And that department has, doctors and all that, the researchers and all, who do research about pedagogy, and they, come out with solutions about education. In India, there are only 2 universities, and those universities are private universities. One is a course, MA course in TIS, and the other one is Azim Premji University in Bangalore. Barring from these universities, we don't have a department of primary education in any of the universities. So that is how we look at education. We feel that no research, because I'll tell you one thing, that as far as primary education is concerned, a research in Indian circumstances about Indian languages is extremely essential. And this borrowing has destroyed our basic methodology of teaching. And I think, to answer your question, number one, according to me, education is the field where I think all our efforts should be concentrated for next 30, 40 years, primary and pre-primary education. We have to work in that field. We have to compel the government to change the strategies to have better trained teachers, because even teacher training is pathetic before the jobs and even during, in service and pre-service, both the trainings They are pathetic. And unless and until we have our own research, it absolutely will not be possible for us to improve the science of education in our country. And you being one of the smartest people in the country, is it so? Yeah. You have more responsibility then. The louder the yes, the louder the responsibility. I think we need to do that. And one more, just last thing. There is nothing called social work. I'm absolutely frightened with the words called samajik bandhilki and this, social responsibility. No one has any responsibility. I am not into education sector. I'm not running an education NGO for someone else. I am running it for myself because I get pleasure from it. And there is nothing wrong in that. So let us not boost our egos by saying that we are doing something for the society and all that. No one needs you. It's you who need that. And that is why you have to find a thing or an area where you can, contribute. And you have to do that for your own self. That's what I want to say.
All right, sir. I think with that, we'll end the interview. Unfortunately, time constraints prevent us from having an audience round. But on behalf of the entire audience and everyone here, I'd really, really like to thank you for that amazing, incredibly motivating and insightful talk. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks. So if you have time, then audience questions. Otherwise, thank you so much, BITS-Pilani. Thank you.
We'll have 2 questions from the audience, please.
Anyone from the audience with a question? Yeah. Can we please have a mic sent there?
Yeah, you can shout out.
Yeah. Come to the front.
Sir, I have a question regarding your art. Sir, you play like some gray shade characters. Like you played a cop in one movie, a corrupt cop. So like playing 2 completely different characters, that's quite easy job or quite doable job because there won't be any comparison. But playing a series of gray shade characters, which are slightly different but quite related. So there's always a risk of getting typed, and either you'll have a great demand because people love that, or like your demand stops there. So how do great actors manage that to not get typed after doing similar characters?
I think the first word in my profession that an actor needs to learn spells N-O. No. So saying no to certain offers is the key, according to me, because you're absolutely right that it is easy to typecast people because it is easier for the directors. They're more sure about what the actor is going to give them. But as an actor, if I don't want to do the same thing again and again, I must be able to say no, and that comes with a baggage, because if you are saying no to films, naturally, you are left with very few choices, and then naturally it affects your income, it affects everything, it affects your popularity and everything. So it is a very dynamic profession, but I would say that the actors who want to do different roles, the key word for them is always no, saying no to the typical offers.
All right.
And I don't think that it is very much different for any other profession. You have to learn to say no to things that you don't want to do, however lucrative they may be.
One final question from the audience.
Yeah.
Sir, we all loved your performance in the movie Rang De Basanti.
Yeah,
Sir,
thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Sir, can you please recite 2 or 3 lines of that poem सरफरोशी की तमन्ना.
सरफरोशी की तमन्ना अब हमारे दिल में है. देखना है जोर कितना बाजुए कातिल में है. खींच कर लाई है सबको कत्ल होने की उम्मीद. आशिकों का आज जमघट कूचाए कातिल में है. देखना है जोर कितना बाजुए कातिल में है. सरफरोशी की तमन्ना अब हमारे दिल में है. देखना है जोर कितना बाजुए कातिल में है.
I don't think there's anyone in the audience who didn't get goosebumps after that.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks. All the best. We had less time, but I have my website called atulkulkarni.com, on which there is a email ID, which is a public email ID, atul@atulkulkarni.com. That's how I was contacted by your college. And that website has my autograph as well as my photographs. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thanks. See you again sometime.